it's 135 The Beat, Miami's new #1 for hip-hop, R&B, and The Breakfast Club. Extremely. I know I always say very special guest, so I'm going to use a different word. An extremely special guest is in the building. The one and only, legendary already, WALSHY FIRE, my brother.
What's up? What's good?
How you doing,
Well,
man?
What's the scene?
We come a long way, brother.
Man,
More
that's
so
why
you.
we don't have time for the story. But you know what, man? Do you do like a podcast on your own? Like, there's a longer conversation we gotta have.
I know. I need to.
Yeah.
I need to, and I just haven't picked it up yet. But
yeah, man,
I'm
we
gonna
gotta
get
have a
to it.
full one, a full conversation.
Man.
But yeah, man, I'm here.
But it's a pleasure to see you. Glad you're here. You know, regardless when I do these interviews, I know you got the TV program that's out and stuff like that. But no matter who I'm interviewing, I do always go back in the past anyway, so we can dabble into some things. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Well, she's something that I may not even know about you, although I know quite a few things about you. How did the music find you originally?
Great question. So I grew up in Carroll City, and I would say around the Murder, She Wrote era, like 91, 92, I was just getting to that like age of like identity. And so, you know how like Haitians are like, the flags are out now?
Right.
You remember like Jamaicans used to be like that. Like we used to be like that. You know, like,
super proud.
Yeah, man, super proud, you know. So shout out to all the Haitians, man. Definitely capitalize on this moment and push it as far as you can go. But one day you will go, okay, we made it. We're good.
Right.
And Jamaicans at that time, Ting-a-ling, you know what I'm saying, Bam Bam Rhythm, we were just starting to get played on like Hot 97, just starting to get played in the American clubs. And like those were the songs, and I started to see it. I'd drive, you know, cars would drive by and I'd see like Black Americans playing like dancehall, like, whoa. So I started to attach myself with this identity, you know, like, oh, yo, I'm actually Jamaican. Like move, you know, you start to dress it, start to put the parts in your hair with the linen suit and the mesh marine and, you know what I'm saying, and the clocks and them thing. Before I wasn't really focused on fashion, but I started to grab the identity. And then that's when my grandfather was ill and I moved back to Jamaica to take care of him, and I really got into it. And, you know, I grew up in Malines Road near Halfway Tree. All the parties were there, all the sound systems, the sound trucks, the cassette man, them, everything was there. So it just started to really become like I got downtime. What do? I get into music. IRI FM, all the radio stations at the time. Shout out to GT Taylor. He had a show called Sound Something. It was like every Thursday he would play sound system tapes on the radio.
What?
In Jamaica. He would edit them too, which is even crazy. He would sit there and edit them out. Just so much music. And then, you know, I just began to love it and it began to consume me. I started to go to the record shop. I started to go to Aquarius Records in Halfway Tree, Dynamic Records downtown Kingston, and spend whole days. Literally just buying records for, I don't know why. And, you know, before you know it, I had amassed a record collection and began to think of what I could do with it. And that's when it really started, man. The love of music started like around that time.
That's amazing.
How the music
man.
found me, yeah.
So now with that love for music, how the music found you, how did you connect it now into your brand, into like where you can start making money with the knowledge that you have?
Money.
You know what I'm saying? Well, you know.
Yo, you got sound effects on this thing? Yo, money. Hold on. When did any of us start to make money?
I know.
Bro, you know the story. We loved it.
We did.
We loved it, man. Some people call it what do you call it, suffering artist or something like that. You know, whatever you want to call it. I smiled every day I didn't get paid playing music. I went to the club or I went to somewhere and I gave my all, and I did it with no intention, no knowledge that money was even being made.
Right. We just loved it.
I loved it. If a lot of people, they might remember me because I used to sell cassette tapes on South Beach and at the 79th Street Flea Market. And so I used to walk around. Shout out to Money D. Used to get cassettes from him sometime. But I used to walk around with a boombox selling cassette tapes, and I loved it. 100-degree weather. I'm outside. No problem. I love it. I loved giving you a cassette that I confidently vetted and knew you would love.
Right.
You know, hip hop or dancehall.
Oh, I got something for you.
Yeah, man. Like, yo, home team, step over here. Let me.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, like, you see them driving away with the cassette in the car, and you're like, I know that person is satisfied, and they're gonna come back to me and be like, what else you got? So I started to really get into the business side of music like that.
Hustling.
But actually, real money No, man, I would say maybe 10 years of DJing before I started to see money.
Wow.
I would say Black Chinese is when I first started to see money.
Right.
And, and honestly, like really nice money too, where it was like I eventually bought a house through Black Chinese and things like that. But before that, no, man, you never see no money. You just did it because you loved it. And you didn't know as well. There was no mentors. Or
before you got the association with Black Chinese, were you going under your own name? Were you a part of another group? What was that?
Yeah, man, a couple
journey?
of sound. I went. The first sound was Changes International. I went to Clark Atlanta University. Shout out to CAU.
Changes, that's right.
That's my first sound, bro.
Yes.
And that's when me and Soul Syndicate really started to link up.
Yes.
Because we were bringing Soul Syndicate was playing a lot in Atlanta, and we would play alongside them. So Changes International was the first sound, and then I ended up playing Copper Shot sound for a couple of years.
Gotcha.
Played Excalibur sound with Doggy Slaughter for a little while as well.
Okay.
And then Black Chinese after that.
So how did that happen with Black Chinese?
Yeah, man. So great story. Shout out to everybody. That if you know me, I got great stories, but this is a good one. I had moved back. I went to graduate school at FAMU, so I got my journalism degree. I did radio. And I was like, all right, well, I need to move to a bigger city than Tallahassee to really get into radio. So I was like down here, and I met with Dave, White Boy Dave.
Yes.
And it was like, yo, you can
Islands United.
Yeah, you can do this underground radio thing. So I was like, yo, that's a great idea, and it actually was a great idea. So shout out to everyone that loves underground radio. But yeah, man, I started to do that. Moved back. I began to do that, but I'm like basically starting completely over. I don't have anything. I moved back into mom's house. I don't have a vehicle. I have all these records and all this stuff, and I'm like, all right, well, let me figure this out. And my good friend Roger B, original New Orleans youth, says, yo, there's this event called Stages. It's the biggest thing in the world. Biggest thing in the world at the time, man. 3,000, 4,000 people.
Yeah.
Biggest thing in the world, though.
Yeah.
And he's like, yo, you gotta play on this party. And I was like, yo, I don't know anybody though. And he's like, yo, we gotta figure it out. He's like, yo, maybe we could buy tickets. Tickets were like $20. I was like, bro, we can't afford this.
Right. It's so funny we can laugh at this now.
I said, yo, $20. I said, Roger.
Right.
And Roger was like, for real, we can't afford this. $20, they're crazy, So me and Roger come up with a scheme. And the scheme is to go to the show very early while they're setting up with our records. No one is going to bother us because we're walking in with equipment and we look important,
right?
And so we borrowed my mom's car. We drive over there, and I walk in at 9 o'clock with Roger B. Now, the party doesn't start till 11, 12. But thankfully, every DJ at that time thought they were the star. So, Black Chinese, Renegade, Baby Blue from Toronto, and Sean Paul is performing. And I'm there at 10 o'clock when the sound man goes, yo, it's ready,
Oh!
So I'm like,
wow.
And because I had studied music, especially the Caribbean, I was a master at early warm. So I was not a disrespectful selector at all.
Right.
I was a master.
You knew your lane.
Studio one start as my start. And then it come up to Barris before me hand it off to the next person. Maybe I would have touched some old rhythm, but for the most part, I stayed in that lane.
Right.
And 3 promoters for that party, Gary, Jamie, and Alex. Gary comes up to me and he goes, Walsh. He goes, what's your name? I said, Walsh. He goes, man, yo, you're nice, man, good. Jamie comes up, yo, man, nice. Alex comes up like, yo, man. And I can see in all 3 of their faces, they go, man, my team is the best team in the planet. Because somebody on my team booked this guy.
Right.
Wasn't me, though. Remember, they all come up individually.
Right.
And each one of them are looking at me and going, my team is solid, man.
Right.
I got the best team in the world. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. No one is even questioning. No one even goes, what are you doing here, bro?
Who are you? Yeah.
They all go, yes, my boss. All right, yeah, man. Like how y'all juggle, man. Do your thing.
Right.
And I know for a fact they're all walking away going, yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'm so smart.
Yeah. Wow.
And at the end of the day, the first DJ didn't show up till about maybe midnight. If you know anything about stages at that time, if you know anything about Caribbean parties at the time and the fever that they had, By 11 o'clock, the place half full up, almost full up.
Yeah.
It's 2,000 people there. I ended up playing for so many people that everyone was literally going, yo, I don't know who this guy is, but he's doing a great job. Bobby Chin was one of the first ones to show up. He watches me play. As soon as I'm done, he literally comes up to me and goes, yo, bro, do you want to play Black Chinese sound? We need some selector.
You are lying.
Not joking at all. And I was like, do I? I was like, what? I had known Dupes. But Dupes used to live in the ghetto, in the ranches, like way, you know what I'm saying? So I had known him through some music hustling and stuff like that, you know, the white labels. But anyways, I was like, yeah, I know Dupes, but I never met Bobby Chin. He was like, yo, do you want to play Black China? I was like, yes. He was like, yo, we have a show in Montreal in a week. You're going. Bro, I didn't have a laptop. I didn't have Final Scratch. I didn't have nothing. And Dupes and Bobby Chin had to load me up with dubs and show me how to use a laptop and show me how to use Final Scratch, all of which when I went to Montreal, I didn't have the confidence to know to do any of that.
Right.
So I walked with my records still. And I had burned some of the dubs on CD. But boy, when I tell you, that was a gangster's dance too, man. If you know anything about old dance hall, and that was a big testing moment of which I overcame and actually performed very well at that show. I ended up becoming one of the biggest selectors in Canada. But that's how I joined Black Chinese, by
that is a really good
jumping
story.
walls and knocking down fences.
No, that's
and
amazing.
putting myself in proximity.
How did now because that Black Chinese, in terms of sounds and what you were doing then, it seems like you always hit these pinnacles, right?
Facts.
So how do you go
That's a
now
true
from
fact.
Black Chinese to Diplo?
Yeah, man. So Diplo was a fan of Black Chinese. He's
Gotcha.
from Fort Lauderdale. He was getting the white label records. He was getting
Gotcha.
the remixes. He was a big fan. And he was, he found out through Scarrett Boy, who was like a good friend of mine, who was his former MC. And he was like, yo, man, I love what you guys are doing. We met at the Bar Marley Fest down at Bayside.
Okay,
Major Lazer performed. And so it was like, yo, I love what you guys are doing. And we became friends. We began to exchange music. And then Scarrett Boy became a Christian and is now a pastor in the Bronx.
Wow.
And he was like, yo, I got all these shows and I don't have an MC. Could you do it? Jillionaire is the one that actually really connected that and said, yo, you should call Walsh to do those shows. And then so said, so done. I went and flew out. It was the first time I ever saw so many white people. It was scary. But it was a great joy to do something outside of the box I was working in. And I loved it. And I saw the potential for it. And that night, same thing like Bobby Chin, no joke. That night, first show, he goes, yo, do you want to do this full time? That was amazing. Like, that was crazy. And I was like, well, how the money look, you know? At this point now,
You making good black
I'm
Chinese
making
money.
I'm have money I'm making.
Right.
And so, yeah, man. And it worked out, man. And ever since then, it's been 12 years now.
Another pinnacle.
Yeah, man.
Recording music. You know, in the studio, producing. It seems like, you know, when they say there's levels to this, it seems like you unlock another level as you go on.
Appreciate
Can
it.
you touch on now being with Diplo and part of that crew, and then now you branching out and doing your own music and stuff like that?
Definitely, and I appreciate that. So for me, I want to say being around Dupes and Willie Chin and watching them build remix was like the first wow. So then I would link with Dollar Sham and Just Bus, and we would sit and make remixes. Me and Dollar Sham and Just Bus would sit for hours and make remixes.
Shout out to those brothers.
Yeah, man. But we definitely weren't the level of Dupes and Bobby and Willie Chin. Like, they were like, yeah, man. We using Acid and SoundForge, but then, man, yeah, I do something different.
Right.
But anyways, we had a great time making remixes. We made great remixes. But Dupes was the one who, I hate to say this, but really was like, yo, there's a business to this that needs to balance with your fun and joy. And he was the first one. So I did Chronix's first mixtape. And he was the one that pulled me to the side and was like, yo, you should sign Chronix, bro.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm not signing no Chronix, man. I was like, yo, I can't. I'm just me. I would hate to let him down. I think his career is going to blow up. He probably needs this big team. And he was like, yo, sign him and then grow with him. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to do it, man. I want him to win. So I don't want to be something that holds him back at all. So I'll just do music with him. So I started doing music. We had a great mixtape. Great records came off of that. And then Coffee comes along. So now I'm executive producing Coffee's whole album. And I just start doing it because I'm watching him do it. He's doing it with artists, and I go, oh, this is what I got to do. Same thing. He goes, yo, you should sign Coffee.
Dude, you just mentioned two of the biggest reggae artists that you could have signed.
And this is early when,
Right.
you know, she's coming to my house in Jamaica, and is like we're sitting in the dining table and just making music. And I was just like, nah, man. I was like, I'm not ready for nothing like this business and all of that stuff. I said, yo, nah, man. I'm gonna hand her off to Pierre, who can take her to Colombia, and she'll be big. And that's what I decided to do. And that happened over and over and over again. And I kept seeing it, and he kept going. He's like, man, you really got to gain ownership in this business, man. You know, that's the next level. So you DJ, then you produce, and then you publish and put out records. You get to the highest levels of this, you know. And so because of him, I ended up forming my own record company called Abeng, and rest in peace to Abeng, good friend of all of ours, who I named it after. And Abeng is where I put out my first album called Abeng. And that was an Afrobeat meets the Caribbean album that came out in 2019. I want to say kind of before all of it happened.
Right.
I was ahead of the game once again. But you know, I gotta say,
did that have a? I meant to. And when I saw it and heard it, I always wanted to know, did that have something to do with your travels?
correct.
Because right.
Yeah, man. You know the thing
Yeah.
already, man.
Okay.
2000 and I want to say 2014, almost 10 years ago, me and Fully Focused put out a mixtape called Africa is the Future. And we put that mixtape out every 2 years. So every 2 years, we would drop another mixtape called Africa is the Future. This is way out. Like when you listen to that first one, it's insane what was happening in Africa musically at the time.
Right.
And but we knew it. We saw it. You know, especially Fully Focused. He's Kenyan. And we saw it. And so my travels with Major Lazer, I began to see it and see it and see it. So 2014, 2015, 2016, I'm seeing the growth of African music. Now, mind you, Caribbean music is big in Africa, right? So I'm able to like get this like instant love and access.
Yeah.
Because they're like, yo, you're Jamaican? Get in here.
Yeah.
All the doors are open for you all over Africa, every country, you know. And so I visited about 11 countries in Africa.
Wow.
And on those journeys, I found Caribbean music was playing everywhere, whether it be French Caribbean or English Caribbean, it was playing everywhere.
Yeah.
And then I started to realize, man, there's so many similarities between what I'm hearing locally and what's happening in the Caribbean. So 2017, I go, yo, this is an easy fusion. They're already sounding the same. Let's just get them in the studio together or get them. So I call Alkaline. You know, I call Runtown. I call Massacre. I call WizKid. I call so many artists. Like my brain right now is like Stoneboy. Like I'm calling everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just like, yo, you want to work? You want to work? And everybody said yes. That's the big thing.
Right.
Is that from the dancehall side and soca side to the African side.
Do you believe, because I believe so, do you believe that you were probably the only one that could bridge that gap? And let me say why, because sometimes it's better for somebody else to say it than you saying it yourself. To me, when you made that transition from Black Chinese, who I would say was the biggest sound in the world, you know, at one time, at the height of it, where you were a part of it, then you make this transition to Major Lazer, and now the respect that we have for you and others, it's like on times 10. And then now the same thing you're saying, where people who love Caribbean music everywhere are also seeing you in such a larger light. You know what I'm saying? So I would like to believe that you were the only person that could have done that at that time, because people wouldn't have been as receptive.
I definitely want to say maybe Shawnee B, maybe a few
Shout out
other,
to Shawnee B.
Yeah, man, maybe a few other people. But because I think I was aggressively touring, it would be me. I would be the person. And shout out to DJ Khaled too. I definitely started to look at what he was doing, infusing, and just really like, man, 20 artists on the album. I was like, yo, I think this is the way to do it. I think this is the way to go. So for me, it was definitely like, I like this. I love how this is going. And I'm gonna take this formula and I'm gonna take what I see happening and I'm gonna go ahead and do this album. And to me, man, history. Yeah, man, history, man, historic.
Big time. Listen, we talked about this before we started this interview that we could literally sit here and talk for 2
this is gonna be too short, man.
But I do have a mixed show ahead of me, and you are here to talk about your story condensed as hell.
Yeah, man.
So, you know, I was fortunate enough to watch it, play a small role in it, which was an honor to be able to talk about just how great I viewed you and continue to view you.
I appreciate it.
And you know, the only disappointment that I have watching it was too short.
Yeah.
All right.
I will say this much though: we've already done got an agreement to do an extended version.
Please, because I felt like you know
man.
it's crazy. It's like when you feel like like wanting for more. You know what I'm saying? You're like.
So I looked at like the level where it was at. Like, first of all, guys, we're talking about PBS.
Yeah, sorry.
If you got a little
I'm being
bit
a
of
horrible interviewer right
if
now.
you got a little bit of years on you, this is a big deal.
Yes.
I know for the younger people, it's probably like a what's that? But for anyone who's a little bit of age, PBS was. I mean, we grew up with there was only 4 channels on the TV, and PBS was one of them. And you're watching Carmen Sandiego, and
it was your only documentary information source. You know what I mean?
And that's a big deal.
Of course,
it's your BBC of London, your version, our version. It's already a big deal. But then American Masters. When I look at my classmates in American Masters, it's historic people. So for me to be in that, and that's why I think I don't want to let this go not being said. It's American Masters, guys.
Yeah.
It's a big, massive deal.
Yeah.
When I look at all of the people who have been an American Master, according to PBS.
Right.
For PBS to call me an American Master, yo, trust me when I tell you, man, Mama's proud.
Yeah.
So
we're all proud, Walshy.
I love that,
I'm
man.
here to tell you that.
Yeah,
we're all
man.
proud, bro.
So, it is short due to the level, the size of the accolade. But I definitely want to say shout out to Alicia.
Yes.
And shout out to everyone in her team that worked on this. Man, Jamie, all the people that worked on this, man, because I don't know Alicia, right? She just appeared one day.
Right.
And was like, yo, I love I've been watching what you do, and I love it so much, and I want you to be an American Master. And so shout out to everyone who understands. And I want to say, man, if you didn't watch it, definitely just YouTube it, Google it. It's called Pull Up, WALSHY FIRE, PBS American Masters.
And it is just a taste.
Yeah, man.
It's just a taste, but a sweet, amazing, spicy taste inside the life of a living legend, WALSHY FIRE.
Enough more to go, too, man. Can you imagine? When you think about what you've done in this amount of time, how much now that you know what you can do in this amount of time, how hard you, it's like, yo, all right, I can triple this for the rest of my life.
Can I say something, before we run out of time? You know what amazes me about you, Walshy, as I see you, is that all these things we just finished talking about, and you're still the same guy. How the hell? And because I can't even speak about what it's like, 'cause I've been doing this same thing for 20-something years. Yeah. But the levels that you've been going through, and then you're still like hanging with Dean and people that you knew from day one, and you're cordial, you're accessible, you're
very
accessible.
You know what I'm
saying?
Maybe too accessible.
How the hell? I saw you at Red Rooster, you're juggling, you're connecting with the people. Like,
that love never went away, man. Okay. I can tell you right now, the same kid that was 14, 15 years old walking around selling cassette tapes, he's still in here. He's still driving, he's still running the show. So I really, 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 the only answer I can think of is, man, I love this, man. I love this. And I hopefully will be able to do this, right up until I can anymore. And I really, really enjoy the feedback from people and interacting with people. And I've traveled a lot, so I love having conversations about people. And I love seeing people win. And I really think that people love to see me win, genuinely do. And so, you know, I'm out here. I believe that I am of a rare breed. To be from Carol City, to be Jamaican, to be really like in the world representing the Caribbean and Miami, I think that's super rare, man. I think that's a rare thing. And so if I'm the only one, then I got to really put that on my shoulders and wear it and go out there and do it. So not only do I feel purpose in life, but I really love what I do, man. And
Well, we appreciate you. We love what you do too. Thank you for all that you've done for the culture, for the music, and taking it everywhere and then bringing it right back here to South Florida to bask in it. We love you, Walshy.
Appreciate it.
And I appreciate you so much. I also appreciate this opportunity, all right?
Yeah, man. Y'all go check out the PBS documentary once again, man. Look it up, WALSHY FIRE. Pull up PBS American Masters. And you already know I got lots of projects coming. I think I'm going to do a Miami-based album too, man.
Ah, let's go.
All right, y'all.
Walshy Fire.
Yeah, man. Love.
How much time I got? 2 minutes.
Blood clot.
Listen, we milked this shit. I was ready to be like, no mix today.
Man.
Somebody's had to sneak in here and get ready.
Oh, he does a live mix.
Yeah.
Man. You know, I've never formally met him, man.
Oh,
All the years and years and years that I've listened to his mixes, I've never formally met him.
Oh, man. All right, just give us some of that.
I mean,
Can you hang out for a little bit longer?
Yeah, man, of course,
I'd
man.
like to do some live
I'm here, bro.
while we do the mix. All right?
50 seconds.
That was amazing, my guy.
Yeah, man. I would love to see you do a podcast. I could have swore you were doing one.
I've always wanted to, but I felt like if I couldn't do it right, that I just did like almost similar to, almost in similar fashion, man. Because I get so consumed with everything I have going on, and you know, and trying to be an entrepreneur and all these different things. So